So guys, yep, I bought this thing here, put it on eBay. It's off a little mini bike. It's not off a Deckson Eagle. It's off a one of those little ones you see the lawnmower engine in it. It's pretty much a good size. Like the length's right, the height will be good, the back's good. What I've discovered is the front's too wide for the tank. That's just too wide. So it's got to be only, about that wide. So I'm going to have to see if I can pick this off apart and bring that's got to come in. It can only be about 120. And at the moment I'll just check what it is. And at the moment that's too wide. It's about 170. And I really only want max 130 tank here. But like it's just too wide for the tank. It just looks stupid. I'm not having that. Like if this seat doesn't look like it was made in a factory, I'm not putting it on this bike. So yeah, that's got to be changed. The front of this, I've got to make my base for starters. Whether I use that or not, we'll see. But it'd be good to use that because it's got all this business on it. And, it looks pretty. The back's good. But I've got to make the front a different shape. It's got to be shaped to that tank. And see how it turns out. There's my rough plan. It's 400 long. At the widest point, it's 212, which it fits over that and over that. And then you put the bolt through the seat. That's how it was made. And the seat will come up like that, like up here. And then, like at the widest point, that drawing's not right, but at the widest point it tapers back in, and this back section here is about 150. So I've got to sort of shape it to this, in not that bit, where it sort of would come, the edges. I've got to build it up with foam and stuff. Right, first thing I'm going to do is make a pattern for that, and then I'll decide if I'm going to make it out of steel or aluminium. That's pretty much what I've come up with. That sits down further, it sits down like that, but the bolt's got to be out, so I don't want to stretch it over that. But it will sit down like that. Put a bit of a recess here for the backbone. I'm actually going to make that a little bit wider. I'm going to make that 35, that's 30. It'll be 30 at the front here, and I'll taper back to 35. We go back to 30 there. Yeah, it's just got a bit of a recess here. So that's basically what I've got to make. There it is there. That's the shape and everything I want. I've traced that out. Just going to cut it out using that. Beautiful day here. It's that cut out, trimmed up, using that. Very handy tool, those things. It took me less than 10 minutes to cut that out with that, and clean it up with that. It took me ages to file that. Pretty got these pieces cut out that I want. This bit here, it's going to have a little recess there for the backbone. But what I want to make is two little hooks, one on each side of this part here. It's going to go down and hook under that. So I'll be able to slot the thing in there, under like that, and bolt it here at the back, one on each side. So before I put that bloody saw thing away, I'm going to make them. Map drawers that I throw all my scrap stuff in. This drawer here is aluminium. So I just went through looking for something to make that thing hooked out of. We've got this stuff. I don't know how thick that is. It looks about 6mm by 12, whatever, 15 nearly. That'll make perfect hooks. And this drawer here, I've got steel and different bits and pieces. I've got my hoses in one drawer, and there's all different stuff in each drawer. I'm going to have two of them. That'll clip in there like that. I'll weld that to the bottom of the seat. Pull it out like that, bang, and bolt it there. I think that's how it was, but I can't really remember. Cut that on this thing with just a series of cuts. Now I'll just clean that up with a rat tail file and die grinder and whatever. Yep, you can see where I'm going with that. I've got 2 of those cut out. Strip here is going to go along the side like that. Bolts there, they'll wrap around. Everything's cut out, ready to go. Got 2 of them. So yeah, there'll be 2 of those, one on each side. It'll clip into there. That's it. I'm just ready to weld up. Yeah, I haven't really been filming much of that, but I'm pretty shaky. It's hard to hold that in position and tack it. I've done the other side. I've just got to go around there and then put this middle bit in. And there's my base there. That's pretty much done. Blew a few good holes in that. Anyway, fill them up. It's got plenty of weld in there. It's got a lot of penetration. At least it's got good penetration, but it's just bloody, I don't know. I'm still not finding the optimum setting for this machine. But all I do is weld these onto it, drill the hole in the right spot, and that'll be mounted. I've just got to make the mounts for it now. Dress it up a bit more. I've just roughly ground that down with a flapper wheel. Now I've got to put the foam on it, shape it. The cover's got to be changed at the front, and then it can be put on. And I'll probably make another trim piece here where the bolt goes through. And I was thinking of putting a chrome little edge along here, but we'll see. Anyway, that wasn't easy. Welding that, trying to hold it. You need 2 hands to TIG weld as it is, and then you got to try and hold all this crap in position. It's almost impossible. That's why it's a bit rough, but it's all right. But it's just, you know, it's one of my best welds, that's for sure. I'll just sort of mop that up, as they say. That washer doesn't go there, but yeah, that's pretty good actually. The back's lined up. I've got them holes in the right spot. I've just got to figure out where these little hooks go. They go in there, so they've got to be trimmed and put into the right spot, then welded on. And that's about it. It's all looking not bad. Not easy to get that in the right spot, but you wouldn't believe it. It fits on first go. All the bolts, everything. It's not tight at the back, but it's just tacked into position, but pretty happy with that. There you go, there's my seat base. Clips in there, bolts up there with the shocks bolt through the seat. That's pretty much how it was. Anyway, I'll probably just clean that up a bit more and spray some black paint on it or something. But that's done. That's that bit done. Well, there's that thing all finished. Painted underneath it, because that's the only bit you really see. That's plenty good enough for something you don't see. This sponge stuff here, you stick that on top of it, glue that to that. You got to sort of, cutting it around there is going to be pretty straightforward, but I'm going to have to sort of trim it a bit so it's shaped the way I want it. Anyway, that bit's done. Just move on to the next bit, which is shaping this. Cut that out. That's sort of the shape of the tank, and that's what I want to change that pattern on that seat cover to look like at the front. I'm going to be cutting the foam with this thing. Just went and bought it from the shop. It's similar to an upholstery knife, but nowhere near as good. We'll see how it goes. I'll line it up like that so I don't have to cut this edge. So that edge is nice and straight. The trick is getting this at a 90 degrees all the way around. I want to make it a little bit longer at the front here, because it's sort of going to go up onto the tank a little bit. Hopefully, anyway. I've cut it out. It's a little bit sort of ordinary, but I'm going to be sanding it with this sort of thing to get it nice and smooth, hopefully. Isn't too bad actually. Shape those corners and stuff. But what I'm going to have to do now is cut some out of here. It's too thick at the front, so I'm going to have to come down like that. Got to measure how high I want the front from here to here. I mainly sit here, but this has got to match to the tank, so it's going to be about that high there, so I've got to take some out of it. I've just got to do some measurements. The back's pretty close. It's probably about 10 mil high, but it should squash down. That's about where it's got to be there. Unless I take a bit out of the whole thing. We'll see. A little recess out of this so it fits in there and sits down on the sides there nice. It looks fairly high, but once the cover's on, it'll pull it down to about there. So that's about where it's got to be. Anyway, if you ever want to do this, use new paper. It works way quicker. 36 grit. It turned out quite good. I'm happy with that. And I just got to figure out how I want to cut this section out. Cut that bit out of there. I decided to make it thinner at the front. I just didn't think it looked right. So now it's a bit thinner at the front than the back. It can pull down anyway, but that's how it's supposed to be. You don't want it to look level, it looks stupid. Contact adhesive on both surfaces. I've got marks where I want it to line up. So sit it on there and that's it. That part's done. And I just need to get the cover done. I'll either take it, I'm going to take it to this guy he's a proper upholsterer. I'll get him to have a look at it. The cover's got to be changed. If we can't use that cover, I've got to make a whole new one. He's made hundreds of bike seats, so, but I want to have that feature on the top of the seat that's in that cover. So I'm really hoping to use that. There's that bit done. Just got to get it covered. Realistically, any upholstery could cover that. But I really want to try and use this thing. I want to have that on it. But we'll see what happens. Well, the front of this has to be changed to that size. It's a lot smaller. But I think it can be done. If he says it can't be done, I'll just get a new, different upholsterer. Anyway, thanks. I put it on. It actually looks fairly good. What I'm going to do is just trim this out like that, so it'll sort of sit on the tank nice. I'm just going to take a little bit off here and change the corners a bit. Make them a bit more rounded. And just make it a little bit lower. Like the cover will pull it down, but I can easily sand that off, so I'm going to do that. I don't know what you think, but I reckon that looks like a motorbike seat. It will pull down another 10 mil or so when you put the cover on it. The front, all along actually, the back, everything will come down about 10 mil. I'm pretty happy with that. It looks very similar to the factory one. Anyway, we'll get it covered and see how it looks. Picked up the seat. Looks like a seat to me. Sitting up on the bike doesn't look too bad, so that's what we've got for now. So it just looks like a mini bike seat. So you can't buy them. There's no way you can buy one of these seats. It's probably a bit rounded at the top than the original, but that was a moulded cover that they would have had. So this is just, it's been made from a different type of mini bike seat. It's been made narrower at the front. Overall, it's not too bad. So I think you might. I think I'll go with it. It doesn't look too bad sitting up on the bike. So when I got to get the tank and stuff back, got to make a little thing for here where the bolt goes through. I'm going to make a little round thing like that for each side. I'll probably put a little mould here. Originally there was a little chrome mould along here. There we go. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it really. You're never going to get it to look exactly like the other seat because that's made from a mould, the cover. I could possibly, if I decide later to change it, I'll get it professionally made just for this seat. But it won't look like that. It'll probably have this business here going around here, going around like that, and have cleats or whatever they do in the middle. I think that looks fine. Originally it didn't have this bit at the back white. It was just all black. And it had Deckson written there. So anyway, at least we got a seat. Anyway, thanks for that.